Someone said to me recently, actually, how do I know that you see something in my business that you're not telling me so that you can take advantage of that benefit and I'm not going to get it at my sale price? 2 weeks later, we went back and found something that was worth maybe $500,000 in the business and put it in front of her and said, we're going to pay you on this because you missed it, but we found it. We're not making money by cheating or paying you less for the business. We want to grow the business and keep the success going.
We all know some of the unsuccessful stories, right, of the industry over the past decade or so, and it's more top of mind with companies as they're assessing this because they want to make sure that they're taken care of, whether that's staying in or being part of the exit.
The luxury tier of travel is kind of the last one that sort of gets impacted whenever there's economic challenges and kind of when people get dicey about traveling.
But there's all types of affluent, right? We have aspirational affluent, we have high net worth, ultra high net worth. So
we'll start the show in just a minute, but first, a word from our premier brand sponsor.
My name is Rachel. I'm with Frontierland. Now we're under Ripple Property Management. I'm a super user, so I use several areas in Track. One of the features I really love that we got with Track that we didn't have with our system we used before is automations. So we set up automations when the system sees 2 orphan nights, it automatically sends an email letting them know, hey, these nights are available at an offer. Would you like to book? So we find a lot of conversion rates with that, and it's something we didn't have before, and it's extra revenue for the owner, time savings. They're reaching out to us and asking us, hey, great deal, how can I add a night? And it's worked out really well, and like I said, fairly easy to set up, and just you do it once and don't think about it. The onboarding to distribution, that was great. The review management is a game changer. I have an agent that's her role, and she's just like, this is amazing, thank you so much. The AI responses are really good. They need minor tweaking. The customer support on the distribution engine side is fantastic too. It's like within a few hours I have a response, if not sooner. So I've really, so far what I've seen from the distribution engine, I've really liked. I feel like there's a little more clarity with Trust Accounting and Track. The reporting's better than our OPMS system and just really easy to use. I can confidently say, hey, we've been with different systems. We've been with Track for 5 years now. We've seen it grow as a company as well. And the more we go and test out different places, we see that, no, this is where we want to be. The reporting's good. The accounting's good. For our needs, which are very similar needs to other PMs, we can say, no, we think we have the best one in terms of scalability. If you have a very small, maybe not. But if you're a mid-sized company and you're looking to grow, I would definitely think that Track is the way to go.
Ready to take your operations to the next level? Get a free market assessment, a $400 value that gives you a clear picture of how your business stacks up against the competition. You'll meet one-on-one with a Track expert who will evaluate your performance in the context of your market, uncover gaps and opportunities, and deliver 3 to 5 actionable insights tailored to your business. This is your chance to find out what's working, what's not, and where you can improve based on real market data. Click the link in the description to get started today. Welcome to Alex and Annie, the Real Women of Vacation Rentals. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie.
And we are joined today by Scott Wiseman, who is the CEO of Nocturne Villas and a second-time repeat guest on the show. So good to see you, Scott.
yeah, it's great to be back. I miss both of you.
No, we love talking with you. You're always just like a breath of fresh air to talk to. And we were talking off camera, so there's a definite difference in kind of the climates that we're sitting in right now. You've got you're channeling your inner fall guy, and I'm still in the summer down in Florida. And Alex is right in between in Myrtle Beach, so we're rolling into fall here.
Yeah, sounds about right. And it could change at any time for any one of us. It could change.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, why don't you bring us up to speed on the world of Scott and what's been going on for you?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thankfully, it's been really busy, which is great. We've seen the slowdown, I think, in bookings that happened at the beginning of the year with a little bit of uncertainty and all of that was happening in the world has really started to heat up. And so particularly the last couple of months, booking pace has really taken off and getting back well into strong double-digit year-over-year bookings for the back half of the year, which we're really excited about. And kudos to our team that worked really hard to, pull all the right levers, if you will, to kind of get us moving in that direction. And also on the, acquisition front, we've had a lot of activity in the last couple of months, which we're excited about. Met some amazing founders of great businesses over the last year for sure, and continued pretty heavily through this past summer as well. So there's a lot of activity out there too for people looking for that perfect next step for their businesses.
Yeah, definitely a lot of people evaluating options right now. And, I mean, that's really been going on for several years, really. But I think there's just a lot of different ways that people can exit their companies now. And it's becoming more of a reality for people that might have been thinking about it a few years ago. And they're now seeing, okay, this could make sense. But just to get our audience up to speed a little bit in case they don't know you or if they didn't listen to our last episode, which was about a year ago, remind us how many markets Nocturne is in and how many properties that represents.
Yeah, we've since 2021, we've acquired 7 different great local brands in 6 markets. And today we're just about 1,200 total homes.
Okay. Yeah. And most of the portfolio is on the like luxury end. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do stay focused on the luxury side of the inventory for sure. Proudly, I can say that we're somewhere between 25 and 50% of the luxury market in each of the markets where we're operating. So we've got a
Wow.
strong presence in that space in each of the local areas.
That's impressive. I wanted to ask you, kind of you were, talking about like people are assessing, and Alex alluded to this, assessing like what they want to do with their business. And there seems to be a number of players in the market that are doing it in different ways to kind of help people either completely get out of it or cash out some equity or, kind of buy into these various conglomerates of business. But there was one that came up as recently, I think it was the VR stakeholders, and I still don't understand a lot about it. We did have them on the show, and it's a very interesting concept. But can you share a little bit of what you know about the kind of that area and what maybe Nocturne offers differently for somebody that maybe does have a luxury portfolio and is thinking, okay, what's my next step?
Yeah, absolutely. I think well, first I think it's good that high tide rises all boats. So we're always very positive people's success and experiences in the space, but they are very different. I mean, everyone kind of has a little bit different strategy. I know theirs is to kind of bring a big chunk of groups together and then kind of go to market all at once to bring some synergies. What we do is a little bit different in that we're kind of staying really focused and committed towards the experience of going with companies that are looking for kind of that personalized exit strategy that really means a lot for them. We don't want to bunch anyone in to a larger group. We want them to feel that whether it's their heritage being preserved, taking care of their employees, a transition. Many of them are so concerned, right, that they want to stick around for a year, maybe or two, and help with the transition so that the homeowners are comfortable. But for us, it's about a personalized exit strategy. So that means each person that we're working with to acquire, we can cater to their needs as opposed to kind of putting everybody into one bucket is really the big difference with us. And I think that's been a great experience the last couple of months, specifically of people feeling relieved and knowing that that's even a possibility. And wait, that can happen. And I can, share the windfall with the team, but I can also do what I love to do, but not work 80 hours a week and still help the business be successful or get involved in a little bit of earnout so they continue to get paid for the work that they put in. So that's really been the secret to us is that we've done it 7 times. They've not all looked the same each 7 times, but the success has always come out at the end, and everyone's felt really happy with where they've ended up.
Yeah, no, that's great. And we all know some of the unsuccessful stories, right, of the industry over the past decade or so. And I think it's more top of mind with companies as they're assessing this because the people are the business in this industry for sure. And a lot of these people have been employees with these companies for some of them decades. It's a lifelong commitment that they've made to them, and they want to make sure that they're taken care of, whether that's staying in or being part of the exit, some thoughtfully done way. But I'm curious, when you're looking at potential deals now, what's the main thing that you're looking at? I mean, I know you have mostly luxury properties, but is it the company size? Is it the brand? Is it just, a good feeling from the owners that there'd be a good culture fit of what they've built? Like, how does that process work?
Yes. It's
All the
All
things.
of the above.
Yeah.
it is really all of the above. I think first and foremost, it's the quality of the homes, the reputation of the local brand, the ability to continue to grow within those markets, the quality of the team that they have in place and what they've been able to do over the years. That all kind of plays into it. It's not a super complicated equation. We don't want to break anything. We are looking for companies that have a bulk of the luxury share in that particular market, but we also don't want to do anything that's going to upset the apple cart. I like to put it this way: we kind of take care of the nasty bits that they have looked for not to be able to do going forward, like anything finance related or with IT, helping with HR, driving more leads without worrying about, do I need to know about SEO and PPC, and anything that we can do to take away so that they've got more time with the homeowners and the employees and the guests is really what we're out to do. And so a lot of times we can really help that. We've shown sustained growth with the local brands that we've bought, and there's always a seamless transition during that same process, and being able to kind of add the global scale that we have. So I've always learned something, even if it's something that's not in our wheelhouse, like maybe it isn't enough luxury product to be able to sustain or what's there. But I'm so appreciative anytime I get an opportunity to speak to someone, because I learn from them too. I mean, they've been so successful, and then often we'll refer them to someone else who might be interested as well for the type of business that they have too. So it's always a good interaction, whether we move forward with them or not.
I wanted to ask you, from your day to day, when you're assessing a business, how hands on are you? I know you've got a really strong team. We've met a fair amount of them, and all completely strong in all of their disciplines. And obviously, you kind of, the buck stops with you, so to speak. But how hands on do you get with these acquisitions and these conversations?
Yeah, very hands-on. I think it's important, not just from my side. I think they need to know, me as well. Like, I don't want to be like a, nameless, faceless CEO that they're not quite sure. I think that the more they get to me and the team, the better it is. And even when they are open to kind of sharing with their small group of leaders, if they have them, the sooner they let them know they're interested and we get to meet them as well, that's a huge win, because it is still a cultural fit that does matter. I mean, it doesn't always have to be about money. It helps, but I think that a lot of them are looking for a connection. Does someone see what I've built? Does someone respect it? And also, I find it's helpful because they've probably never sold a business before, and it is scary if you don't have an advisor or an investment bank, or even just the fact that you just don't want to be taken advantage of, right? That's what I hear a lot. Is someone said to me recently, actually very recently, it was a great question of, how do I know that you see something in my business that you're not telling me, so that you can take advantage of that benefit, and I'm not going to get it at my sale price?
Yeah,
And I thought,
yeah,
what a great,
that's
I
a good
love that
question.
question. And I was like, well, quite honestly, we wouldn't keep doing what we're doing if anyone had a transaction with us and felt that they didn't get what they wanted. We want raving fans from people that have sold their business to us and got everything out of it that they wanted, from their employees all the way through their financial satisfaction. And ironically enough, 2 weeks later, we went back and found something that was worth maybe a half a million in the business, and put it in front of her and said, we're going to pay you on this because you missed it, but we found it. And we just to prove what you said earlier, we're not making money by cheating or paying you less for the business. We want to grow the business and keep the success going. And so it was just a great opportunity that, coincidentally, the one person who asked it like that, we actually had something that we were able to come back and say, we're going to give you credit on this.
Yeah, no, I
I
love
love
that.
that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. I'm sure it's a lot of education from your side to these people too, if they haven't, gone to conferences and sat in on Jacoby and Jason Sprinkle's presentations on this. I mean, there's just, and even if you have, there's still so much to learn when it's actually you behind the wheel going through it. But I'm curious. I mean, what is the main goal with Nocturne, or the opportunity that you see when you come into a company? Is it, and you're probably gonna say both, but is it consolidation of resources so that they can operate more cost effectively? Is it growth, or like where's the opportunity that you guys see that you're going to be able to make this a good investment? Because I mean, the companies are trading on pretty high multiples right now, so you've got to have some level of knowing where you're trying to move the levers.
Yeah, I would say I'd put last on the list actually the savings, or some type of cost structure changes because the businesses are usually not huge and there's very little redundancy unless in one location, like for example, we acquired two businesses in St. Bart's years and years ago. And even that wasn't an exercise in, combining positions because again, no one's retiring off of those savings. It is about growth. So I put two at the top of the list. It's growth for the business. A lot of it has to do with using the marketing resources and tools that we have to drive the top line to get more leads. We have seen, changes of 38 to 45% once moved onto our website platform and optimized in new leads and also conversions. Just having better data to be able to make better decisions to kind of grow the business. So that's been good. But equally with that though is the talent within the company. So it kind of goes against the first point, which is we're not looking to cut. We're actually add a lot of staff, usually to a lot of the businesses to give them the resources that they maybe haven't invested in. But more importantly, we have a huge percentage of current Nocturne employees today that came up from the local brands that we've acquired over the time. And that to me is great. I'd love to find talent when we can, when we're going to bring on a business where they can contribute. So we've got marketing, we've got finance, we have salespeople that are all doing, multiple brands or at the Nocturne level that maybe wouldn't have even had a chance to do that, staying with an individual, local brand. So to me, those two things are the growth and then kind of taking advantage of great team members who wouldn't have had an opportunity to do more is probably the most exciting and the thing that we look for.
Yeah. Have you had any owners that have, because like you said, some want to stay for a transition, but have you had any owners that have transitioned over to being an employee that because they were like, I love the business, I want to stay in it, but I just don't want to own it anymore?
Yeah, we've got a great example. The first one with Christina Cassis, who sold Telluride, sold Exceptional Stays to us, is still part of the organization, being the first. And so she's got the best of both worlds. She is unbelievably helpful to us. She was so connected. She built the business from scratch and just gave us a beautiful business that continues to flourish. And I find her to be an unbelievable resource to me and to the team. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean that she's working full time at this point because she's helped transition the business, but is available and at a beck and call. Sometimes she'll travel with me to destinations because she's known people longer than I have and set up meetings when we're looking at other places to acquire. So she's been a great resource. So that's the example on one end where in a good way, she just won't go away, and we love it. Um, which is really good. And then we've had others that have exited shorter, but I'd say the average is that between 1 and 2 years, somewhere in there is usually the average people will stay on with the transition, which is usually fulfilling for them as well because they're not doing the day to day. The rest that stuff's all being handled and they're really focusing on what they loved in the business and why they got started in it in the beginning, which was taking care of the homeowners and those relationships and have the freedom of just selling a business and be able to do that, but still stick around enough to contribute and to continue to earn on that as well with an earnout, which so we're not asking them to do that for free either. It gives them an opportunity if they believe in the upside still ahead, then and they stick around to help with that it's even better because they can make more over the initial price that they received.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're there to answer your questions when many questions come up once you actually get, totally behind the under the hood of understanding the business. So that's a big part of it too. But so, I mean, as far as some of the things that you guys have brought under one roof, I think when we spoke the last time, you talked about homeowner marketing, regular marketing, revenue management. Is the tech stack all still whatever they're on, or are you moving people onto the platforms that you prefer?
Yeah, we do move them to one tech stack. We think it's vital in so many ways. One, it gives us a best practices, which
Yeah.
is fantastic because there's always someone that's figured out a better trigger and automation for customer
Oh,
contact,
yeah. Yeah.
so forth. So and all the bolt-ons, right? The things that with concierge and for finances to be able to pull everything together, it makes life a lot easier. And we do all that heavy lifting. They do not have to worry about migrating anything from their old system to our system. We do it all behind the scenes. All they have to do is train on it, and we make sure they're ready. And sometimes it takes a while. We try not to disrupt like peak season and start from scratch. But the benefit far outweighs just leaving everyone on their own individual PMS and other systems. It's just too hard to help. It's tough because people are used to one system, but we're honest with them up front and said, trust me, there will be benefits. I guarantee being able to do that. And it's usually the general managers all talking to each other to solve a problem. Now if you're a GM, you've got, six different people you can ask doing the same job you're doing in different markets and say, how do you account for this? And how are you accounting for this? And when can you do that? And so it sets up a natural kind of communication between peers too, which is great.
So last time we talked, also we talked about kind of your expansion plans, and one of the things that you had mentioned that you had your sights set on down the road was going into the European market. You have some in the Caribbean with the Wimco, and then you have Julie Bird's group in Cabo, and then you've got, I think you have. Do you have one in Canada or no? I can't remember.
Not in Canada.
Not yet. Not in
Yeah,
Canada.
not yet. Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, is that still something that you're thinking of? And I asked that just kind of like looking at where the market has been the last year. I mean, Europe finally hit the peak that we did a year, 2 years ago, and it started to slow down. So it's like, I imagine that there's going to be some operators that are going to look towards next year and think like, maybe it's time for me to start thinking, in those terms. And actually, it's funny, we're going to be in Italy in a couple of weeks for some conferences. And I was thinking about, we were looking at places to stay, and just the amount of the variations from country to country and what's considered luxury and what isn't is pretty, it's very stark, I think, in the terms of what we think as Americans of what luxury is. But, just maybe give us some, I don't know, some breadcrumbs or maybe some, magic 8-ball of what's going to happen for you guys down the road in that realm.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is still within North America and the islands, there's still plenty for us to keep busy, so that's good. But yes, down the road and maybe sooner than later, probably since last time we talked, only because we've been able to realize that there are some that have a similar model to us that are operating maybe a little bit smaller. Because to me, the biggest thing is the exclusivity part of it. And Europe, for the most part, is not necessarily an exclusive market when it comes to villas. And in a past life, we used to do a high-end villa program, and you could have a VIP checking in one day, and the owner of the villa decided his niece said she wanted to stay for the week, and so go do something else. Like, it's a very difficult thing to not have control of those. So doing it in the right way, which I think is, there are some that have done that in Europe and have stayed committed to where they control the experience and it doesn't become too spread out where it's difficult to have consistency. And then you end up with a lot of potentially independent contractors that are taking care of disparate group of homes. We would do it in the same way that we've done with Nocturne, which is concentration, where we control the experience and be able to do that. But I will say that there's been, in a good way, in a positive way, some players out there that have been focusing in that way of building their business that could be really interesting for us.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, as far as leveraging the brand to drive traffic or bookings to different locations, has that been a focus for Nocturne?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're still probably got room to go there, but to give credit to Erin, our CMO, and the work that she's done on really assessing the customer profiles and database and really understanding who they are, so we market to them better and more personalized, has been really helpful. And there is a crossover between the brands for sure, even though some are drive markets, some are fly markets. There's a lot of room to improve, but yes, we have had a much stronger work done around the customer database to be able to customize communications, get them to stay more often, get them to experience others within the Nocturne collection too has been really helpful.
We'll be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our premier brand sponsor.
I'm Arlen Buznitz with Destined Dreamers. I'm the CEO. We've been working with Explory now 2 years. Before Explory, the guests, if they wanted extra experiences outside the house, they had to go pay for it. With Explory, now we're offering free tickets, and guests can come in knowing that they have many free activities without having to pay additional. We started with Explorer because we wanted to enhance the guest experience, give us a competitive advantage in the area, and also cause more people to book. When a guest books with us, they have the opportunity to experience 10 plus different activities through Explorer. We're talking golf, parasailing, snorkeling, dolphin cruises, miniature golf, water park, tiki cruise to Crab Island, all that. So it's quite a good value that the guest gets. Our brand is that we are more than a stay, and this helps us solidify that because yes, the guests get all these free experiences. What's helped with Explorer is it does show up in the reviews, and then also it's really helped our sales team. When people are trying to decide between houses, it gives us another little extra shove to push them towards going with us versus another company. In our county, there's over 7,000 vacation rentals. Many options, so you have to be distinct. Explorer has been great to work with. When you're dealing at the volume we deal with, there's gonna be issues that pop up once in a while. And I know and have experienced that they're easily resolved, and they're very receptive to ideas too, because in this fast moving vacation rental world, there's always ways to update systems, and Explorer is very good at updating, upgrading, and making sure that guests and us have a great experience. I'll be asked, do I recommend Explorer? If it is somebody who's outside our market, I say yes. If it's somebody who's inside our market, I say no, because I don't want the competition. The reason I recommend Explorer is because it is a simple, easy, inexpensive way to enhance the guest experience. And just for that small fee per night, we are able to provide incredible benefits to the guests.
Looking to take your guest experience to the next level? Explorer helps you stand out by connecting guests to curated, complimentary local activities. And now, Alex and Annie listeners get free onboarding when you join as a new partner. This exclusive offer is valid through November 30th, 2025. Click the link in the description to get started today.
One thing that it comes up in conversation a lot is that people will say that kind of the luxury tier of travel is kind of the last one that sort of gets impacted whenever there's economic challenges and kind of when people get dicey about traveling. Have you guys seen any big impacts? I mean, I feel like I've talked to some people on 30A that it's kind of hit or miss. Some of them are just like they weren't expecting it, so price too high, waited too long. I mean, just kind of the standard if you're not really watching things. But have you guys seen anything, and like what are you looking for towards the future in terms of being able to isolate your groups from maybe things that are happening? Because I think that what people are saying is some of this stuff might take take longer to kind of calm down in terms of like international business and back and forth. I mean, what are you guys? I guess what are you doing? Because there's so many schools of thought on it, but I mean, you have a very specific model of business.
Yeah, we don't take it for granted. I mean, everything you read says that the high net worth luxury traveler puts a higher priority on travel than they do other expenses and have more discretionary income to be able to do so. So we do see that as kind of a natural trend, but there's all types of affluent, right? We have aspirational affluent, we have high net worth, ultra high net worth. So while, well over 50% is high net worth or above, that means we have 50% that are sitting, probably in affluent, and they are going to be a little bit more impacted on how that works. So we don't ignore that at all. I think what we've been doing is leaning in on the things that we do really well, particularly when it comes to concierge services and the extra things that we can really build to make a perfect experience, and competing much stronger against the resorts. Because at this point, I feel really confident we could do everything you could do at a resort and more, except have strangers staring at you while you're doing it. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. So yes, we are working hard. It goes back to what I talked about on the database and understanding the needs and the booking patterns, reminding people of the experiences and where they stayed, in past years. Maybe they skipped a year, and going back and reminding them that now's a good opportunity. But even in other industries I've worked on the luxury side, what's happening now, and I kind of brought it up in the beginning, I do find that luxury, when it does slow, even with everything else, it doesn't slow as bad, but it comes back faster, which is why the last couple of months we've seen such a great ramp up, pretty much erasing that gap in the first, part of the year that happened when everyone was pausing. And so that is definitely a strength of the luxury market, is when it comes back, it doesn't trickle. It comes in full force. It's like a switch goes off and everyone's like, okay, I'm comfortable now. boom, we're going to go ahead and spend. So that's been nice. So we haven't really had a plan to discount. If anything, it's value add and just reminding people why we're here. We kind of take the philosophy that we still have owners that we have to take care of, and they have expectations, and they would prefer that we get them more money even for less nights, so it's less wear and tear than just keep it full for the sake of keeping it full. And they don't panic because we have a really good relationship with them, and they're constantly getting information from us about how they're doing. We tell them how the market's doing. We're honest if we're under or above, and what we can do to help them. So they look at us as good counsel and trust us, and so we take that pretty seriously. But it's been a partnership with the owners, and also a shorter pattern of when things slowed up, which is great. I mean, the fact that it's kind of roaring back before next year is a great sign, because it could have been all year. We could have waited at least a year to see when things might change from, when things got a little glum there in February.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, people will be
Yeah.
glad to hear that. That's
Yeah,
positive.
exactly. You've mentioned your concierge program a couple times now. Maybe tell us a little bit about how that works and like what's similar or the same within market to market.
Yeah, there are different levels of concierge services, or different amount of offerings, I think, just depending upon the destination and what people are into. I think it's fair to say that we talked about Cabo a little bit earlier, that they kind of lead our company with the most amount of concierge services. Really creative team. I mean, they can do anything when it comes to providing services, and so they're 2 out of 3 bookings are taking multiple concierge services with them. And then in other locations, we're trying to be appropriate, right? Like using 38 as an example, beach bonfires, right? Become really important. Family pictures, celebration events, milestone, private chef experiences. So it's a little bit different everywhere, but it's something we're doubling down on, and it's not anything that we super mark up either, right? Our philosophy is it's about the business and that what we are as a brand. So I don't really look to make a huge profit on the concierge services, because we want to be the company that people just know that we're going to provide that, because it's about the home and the experiences. I don't want to sit there and, arbitrarily, accelerate a profit on a private chef, when I would rather them just know they can come to us, it's going to be taken care of. Also, our partners that are working with us to do those things feel that they're getting a fair shake as well. So that's how we're building it out, is kind of coming from a real partnership level and making sure that it's unique and special, and a lot of times just exclusive for us.
On the concierge thing, and actually Julie had come from Cabo. She had come in with George, her partner, and they stayed here. I think it was last end of last summer. And she tried out some concierge services in the market, and we were talking about the differences, and like, so her expectations, like you said, she's kind of like the cream of the crop. Her team knows everything. They do the best of the best. Her expectations are pretty high. And so how do you level set that for your team, and then like maybe go in and provide feedback within a market to say how people can provide a better level of concierge service? Because I know just the panhandle is very difficult to provide very high end services on a consistent level, from staffing and those type of things. And so I think that that's where, from a brand perspective, it is very hard to be consistent. But do you find that you can go in and work with people within a market to help them level up that service?
Well, usually the best thing to do is that we bring people in on our own team to be able to do that. So we added on 30A, I guess, services director that fully takes on and is familiar with the market and fully take on that relationship. So this is where I was saying before, we like to invest in, after we even, buy a company, to be able to do the things they know. Every founder that I've met and sold the business, they go, I just wish I had time to do all that in the past. Haven't really done it. So they know that the need is there for the most part. And we just try and make sure that we don't overdo it, right? We don't want to launch like 50 things when only like 8 are really what mostly in demand and can be executed really well. So to your point, if we can't do it well, we won't do it. And we also try to be really careful on not creating something that sounds really cool, but isn't really practical for what people, want. So I think that's a big part of it, is just understanding what the market is. And again, we don't rush into that either, because it's not anything that we want to disrupt. We want it to be accretive to the experience. So we take our time, we find the right people, and we build around a core group of services and then expand from there again based on need. And if we're listening to the guests and even the homeowners know sometimes they're like, I'd love for my home to be used with private chef experiences. What do I need to do? Should I up my, pots and pan game, stuff like that and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I think it's just being aware what's there and investing in your own people to help build it out and not just make it a independent contractor relationship and hope that it works out for the best.
Yeah, yeah, we see a lot of companies that, as Annie mentioned, it's like they want to do more on concierge or tours and activities, but they don't really have time for it, and so there might be a little bit of effort that goes towards it at some point in the journey, but then the company isn't set up to be handling that as a big part of the business. And I think that's definitely a huge value add that you guys come in with because it's part of your brand promise, right? And I mean, you're staffing your own people to make sure that the quality control is there. And even beyond just the revenue opportunity, even if it's minimal, I mean, it's guest retention that the experience could be vastly different if somebody booked at a home that did not have your team that's setting all those things up, and they're having to figure it out or not figure it out or have a bad experience because they didn't vet the vendor properly. So it's a big value add for you guys.
Yeah, and I think that guests also, if there are multiple destinations over a period of time, understand what's happening within the local markets, that just because they had something, in one destination, it might not track or really be necessary in another, but all they care about is that there's going to be a pre-arrival concierge that's talking to them about all the things that they can do and help them change what's important for them is really all they're looking for. It's just that level of, care and generosity when it comes to what they want to do while they're there, I think matters more than the actual thing itself. So, I mean, back to what you were saying, Annie, it's really about how we deliver it that keeps it consistent and making it luxury and attentive versus the specific service itself.
I wanted to ask you on that. I'm not sure. Do you guys use Airbnb at all for any of your properties?
We do for some of them, yes.
Okay. So on that, their experiences, obviously that kind of conflicts with the concierge services that you offer. I'm assuming you probably opted out of having those at the properties, or maybe you didn't. I don't know, but how do you see that? Because that's been a big talking point, a big bone of contention with a lot of people, and sort of the dynamics of it, going into somebody's property without the property manager and the property owner knowing that this is going on. Obviously, if they're working with you, they know that this is a possibility, and you've already vetted the people, and there's, all the insurance is in place and all the things that have been taken care of. But how do you see it with Airbnb trying to do that and be able and inserting experiences within properties?
I worked for a great British boss once who used the term, it's chalk and cheese. It's chalk and
Chalk and cheese.
Chalk and
so
cheese.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, I loved it. I didn't have the accent, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's to me, it for what we do, it's not the same,
Yeah.
and it's not, the experience and what we bring to it. I understand what they're trying to do, which is what we've known all along, right? It's about really being able to provide beyond just a house and beyond, a villa or a condo. It's about the experience and wrapping people in as much or as little, care and service that they want. So we think it's very different than what we would bring to the table. I'm sure there's clientele that would find that easy to do, but I think again in the area that we play in, I think they feel a lot more comfortable speaking to us, the people that are actually putting it together, than dealing with an aggregator that's putting together different experiences. So I mean, look, there's no reason they can't be successful at it. I just don't see it at the same level of attention to detail that we can provide.
Well, I mean, just the execution of it, but leading up to whenever the experience happens, and even when the vendor gets there to supply, if it's a chef or photography or whatever it is, like, I mean, you guys know the properties, you know exactly when somebody should be there, what's going to need to happen in order to get the home prepared for the service, and I mean that doesn't really happen necessarily when you're using these outside vendors that they've never actually even been to the property or understand much about the stay. So definitely a different take on it, but I like how you guys are
Yeah.
doing it better.
Yeah. Well, even the photographer, like our team knows exactly when the perfect witching hour is
Yeah,
for pictures. They
yeah,
literally like, no, it has to be between this hour and this hour,
yeah,
and we gotta hurry up and get it done, and that's when they need to do it. So just the fact that that does make a difference in kind of just even though it sounds like a little detail, but it literally is a picture, and so natural lighting kind of matters a bit.
Yeah. I'm interested too for the companies that you have acquired, were any of them doing their own concierge program before Nocturne came on?
Yeah, for sure. Some of them have had been doing it that we've helped build out. Some have been doing it at a small level. Some very basic, but it's all different sizes and shapes.
I know when we talked to Julie when we first met her, that she was telling us like the elaborate things that they have done. I mean, talking about like, booking camel rides out in the desert and ATVs and fire walkers and all kinds of crazy things that I wouldn't even think about going to Mexico. It just wasn't stuff that entered my mind, but she had all these really great little kind of escapes from the town to go see things. So I think that's what she's done there is if they could replicate that everywhere. I mean, I think that would be impressive. But I did want to ask you kind of opening up the crystal ball. What are you seeing in travel and hospitality, and maybe specific to luxury that is going on right now, or like what's going to coming in the future? Like, do you see any big changes? Do you see any things that are going to upend the industry, or maybe to make people take notice and specifically take notice of like vacation rentals? I think we're in a spotlight. People have been noticing us for a couple of years now, but do you think there's any wholesale changes that are coming that maybe people need to be aware of?
Well, it's a great question. My crystal ball is really a magic 8 ball, and it's usually not very kind to me. Uh, I get a
Give it
lot
a
of travel.
whirl.
It's a good question. I do think what's strengthened though the industry in itself is that it really isn't alternative accommodations anymore with what's happened, right? I think that we're kind of clearing that moniker in the space, and it's a real competitor to resort experiences, even those with villa components within the resorts, to be able to do that and put it forward. I see studies all the time that show that the demand for short-term rental, particularly on the luxury side, actually can outstrip and is in some markets the demand for resort and hotel, which I think is really exciting. So I think the big shift is I think it's going to be a more mainstream product. People are going to have to pay more attention to it. It's going to be in the same conversations when you talk about what's happening with demand, and it's usually what's happening with the airlift into a place, or what's happening then with on top of that with the demand for hotels. Short-term rentals are going to be right there alongside, kind of as its own industry and standing tall. So I think that's going to be good for us as we go forward. I still think that people say that they realize it, but they really haven't encountered fully what the short-term rentals can do. At first, it was safety, security, through the COVID times. And to your point, what you mentioned about the concierge services, we're finding more and more people when they have a concierge service that takes them off the property and they're in a day 4 of their stay. That's when they start to say, well, we want to change it. We want to do something back at the house. We're enjoying the house too much. We don't want to leave. So we're seeing that start to happen. So I think you're going to see more of these services in home, in experience, again, see real private, because they realize they can do anything that they want in the homes. I think that's going to continue to grow. So that's why the experiential side of it matters just as much as the home, for sure, going forward, and building all that and having the flexibility and doing all that. So I think that's going to continue to strengthen in the next couple of years.
Yeah, well, that makes perfect sense. Scott, maybe to just kind of come back to where we started in the beginning as our wrap up, for anybody who's listening and they are thinking about selling their business, like what does that process look like when you start that conversation, and what should people kind of know going into that process?
Yeah, it's a great question. The first thing I always say is, what's your dream? Like, what is your dream with this business? What did you hope for? Where it is now? What would be the best possible scenario for you? And just listening and hearing whether it's like, well, I originally thought maybe I'd leave it to my kids, but now I don't want to do that, or it is important for me that the employees I've had so long are, we would like to see them continue. We want to see the business prosper. It would break my heart if my name wasn't, if the name of the business wasn't still on there. I also would like to make sure I get X amount of money out of this because I don't want to work anymore, or I would like to invest in what Nocturne's doing. So I think it's really understanding what they want first helps us understand what their motivation is. And kind of in the beginning, when I said we've been super flexible because everyone has a different way they want to do it. I mean, it's not like there's 50 different ways, but everyone definitely has a different focus, a different way that they want to do it, what it looks like, what the transaction looks like, how much they want to take out of it, what happens with the team members. So that's the first thing is there. And then, of course, if they've got an advisor or an investment bank, it'll help them with the valuation of what they think that they're worth. Although I will say, I think the last 2 years, most people have spent the time trying to answer that question and preparing for a sale better. So they're more educated today than they have been in the past because they made the time to figure out all the add backs that they won't run through the business that could count towards a stronger EBITDA and building the future bookings reports. So I do find that today, many of them are a lot more educated than were even a year ago or 2 years ago because they put the time to try and figure it out and see what's happening. Doesn't have to be painful. There's never any terrible conversations. Everything's up front. It's again, it's a good sharing experience. Even if it's someone that they're not ready to sell, but we spend time together, I feel good that they at least understand more of the process and how things will be looked at and what recent valuations look like, all of that stuff. Very transparent, very open. We want them to feel really comfortable in when they make the decision that they're getting out of it what they expected.
That's great. So if anybody wants to start a conversation with your team about potentially selling their business or maybe looking down the road to sell their business, how can they get in touch with your team?
Yeah, they can reach out to me directly, which is absolutely fine. I welcome it, and also Anthony Barrera on our team is super helpful to reach out as well. He can provide initial information and some materials about Nocturne as well, about what we're doing. So either one of us, you can find us on the website, but we'd love to have a conversation. And again, I don't mind if you even say I'm thinking about it but haven't done anything officially. Happy to just have that conversation and set the table and give people something to think about.
Great. And we'll see you at BRMA in Vegas, I assume. So if anybody's wanting to tee up that conversation, they can grab you there.
Perfect. Time to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And we'll put the information on your contact information in the show notes for sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming back again, Scott. There's not too many people that we've had back on as a repeat guest, but we were super excited to have you back on today with us. But if anybody wants to get in touch with Annie and I, you can go to alexandanniepodcast.com. And until next time, thanks for tuning in, everybody.